Guess what, guys? It's a Daniel Ricciardo race week. Can you believe it? I woke up last Tuesday and I see rumors that Vries has been dropped because Daniel is blowing things out of the water in his car in his tire test at Silverstone. And I was like, what is happening? And then like a half hour later, it was like, everybody, it's legit. It's being reported by the Dutch media. It's being reported by Chris Medland. It's being reported by F1 itself. What is happening? This is real life. My favorite driver is back on the grid 2 races after the one I was at. Oh, I'm so mad about that. So mad. Why couldn't you have come back before Canada, Daniel? Oh. Guess I'm just gonna have to go to another F1 race in the future to watch him race again. But then he might, if it goes badly, then he might not be on the grid. Sorry, okay. Losing my mind a bit. Anyways, I needed to consume all of the F1 content possible in as quickly a time as possible because it was all I was going to be able to think about all day while I was at work, trying to get things done, just constantly listening to DR3 podcasts that were being dropped left, right, and center by all the content creators. I was like, this is my jam. I'm just going to consume all of this content. So yeah, he's back, baby. Hey. So anyways, I'm very excited about that. Very, very, very excited. So let's get into predictions. So sometimes I like to write down my predictions like a ways in advance, and then I change them closer to the event. And I kind of did that this time. Initially, I was like, you know what? I think it could be Aston Martin's weekend. I think Fernando Alonso could get that pole. But then Red Bull decided to announce that they're bringing upgrades for this weekend that are probably going to add 0.2 to their car. And I was like, well, there goes those chances. So I once again have Max on pole. It's just not going to happen for anyone else, I think, at this point. Until I see someone else do it, I'm just going to constantly be predicting him for P1. But I do have Fernando in P2, and then I have Charles in P3, Lewis Hamilton in P4, and George Russell in P5. I think that the Mercedes is going to be decent around Hungary. They were last year. I think the Aston Martin is going to be good because there were a lot of slower speed corners, and that seems to be the area that Aston is the best at. And then Charles is just Charles, and no matter what, he's going to get the most out of that Ferrari, even if it's a piece of junk. While Lando has managed to qualify in the top 5 in the last 2 races, I think Hungary doesn't have as many high-speed corners, which is where that McLaren is fastest. So I don't think he's going to do as well this race, but maybe he'll prove me wrong. And if he does, then that will be a big step forward for McLaren. And things could get very interesting with them for the rest of the year. So we'll see what happens there. Now, in the race itself, I basically have the same thing as pole. I have Max first, Fernando second, and Charles third. I can't believe Red Bull are still bringing upgrades. It's just like, stop, they're already dead. Oh, honestly, just ruining the fun for everyone. As you can tell, just very upset about this. And then I have Pierre Gasly in P10 because that Alpine has started to fall behind, and I don't know if they're bringing upgrades at this race or not, but that generally seems to be where Alpine is finishing, like right around the bubble of P10. Now, for my 3 hot takes. My biggest hot take is that I think that Daniel Ricciardo is going to outqualify Yuki in his first race back. I don't know. Daniel's generally pretty good around Hungary. He's won it before. He had that great double overtake last year, which is like one of the only good things that he did all year before McLaren absolutely tanked his strategy by putting him on the hards. So, I mean, they're going to be on hards in that first queue, so you never know what could happen. And Daniel's been doing a lot of sim work, so maybe he'll do well. I don't know. It's just a vibe. I do think Yuki will outrace him in the first 2 races, but I think they'll get pretty even after the break. I'm expecting them to be a very close battle for the rest of the year. My second hot take is that I think the hard tires are going to ruin one of the Ferrari's races. There isn't a worse combination in F1 than Ferrari and hard tires. Honestly, every time they put those tires on, something goes wrong. And so I feel like it's either going to be one of them gets knocked out in Q1 because they can't get their tires up to temp, or one of them's going to put the hard tire on during the race and fall back through the field, and it's going to be the hard tire's fault. So that's my second hot take. And then my third hot take, I went back and forth on this. I feel like either way that I went with this, it would have been a hot take. So I went with Checo doesn't make Q3 again. My other thought was like, maybe he does make Q3. That would also be a hot take because he's like 50-50 this year on making Q3, which is absolutely unhinged stat. Like, what are you doing, Checo? You're actively throwing away your F1 career right now. But he didn't qualify in the top 10 in Hungary last year, and he seems to be struggling more with this car in quali this year than he did last year somehow. So I think it's going to happen again. I think he's not going to make Q3 again. And the more and more this happens, the more and more things are going to look good for Daniel. And honestly, I think there is the slimmest chance that Daniel will get into that Red Bull seat before the end of the year this year, because they might want to test him and maybe even Yuki out in that Red Bull before the end of the year, just to see who their best option is moving forward. Because if Checo can't get it done in qualifying this year, if the other teams catch up next year, they're going to need a really good second driver to be able to ensure that they get the constructors. So I think Checo needs to improve his qualifying, because if he doesn't, I think he will lose his seat at the end of the year. So I think he's not going to make Q3 again. And yeah, that's my prediction. Anyways, let me know your predictions in the comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to this video to keep in touch with my other F1 content that I will be putting out this coming weekend. See you guys around.